I think young people, he felt them maybe a little bit more than the ordinary person. And he could express the feeling of other people for them. So I think that when people, for instance, listen to Tupac's music, they always feel that he said something that, God, I wish I had said it, or I want to say that. That's how I feel, you know? So I would just describe him as an extraordinary human being who was very ordinary. He was my son. And so I knew him and loved him as a human being, as a son, as a mother would a son. He was a good son, a good guy, but he was human, a human person. And I think that the beauty of him was in his humanness. I think you mentioned September 11th. What affects me the most is the thing that happened the closest to when he died. Princess Diana was killed right after. And a huge school massacre happened at Columbine in this country. That would have affected Tupac, especially the children, the killing of the children, and that it has happened so many times and so much after that. The violence that we've continued to exert upon each other and ourselves. I think that Tupac would be troubled by it, but I really feel like he would have tried to do something to speak to it. I don't fool myself into thinking that he could solve all problems, but I think that the music would be different because Tupac's music would speak to the huge loss and change that those events had on all of our psyches. I think that we are all different today because of those events and our own experiences around it. Wanna laugh at how I got my ass caught up with this bad bitch, thinking I had her, but she had me in the long run. It's just my luck, I'm stuck with the wrong one. It's so amazing. I just thank you so much for all of those descriptions, because when my son died in 1996, people were trying to remember him differently. And the fact that time has molded him to be all of those things that you say, rather than the negative, small things that some people wanted to portray him as. I don't think that I could ask for anything better than that. I always wanted people to understand that Tupac was an artist, and I always wanted them to appreciate him as an artist, as a true artist, and to appreciate all of his work rather than to pick and choose lines from somebody's work that was so massive. And sometimes people choose one sentence and they want to define his body of work. So I think the most important thing for me is that people today view him as an artist, as a complete artist, and as a humanitarian, and as a person who felt other people's pain. That, as a mother, I don't think that I could ask for anything more. I really feel blessed about the way that people accept, understand, appreciate, and love my son. I feel blessed by it. It's a gift, and I do not take it for granted or lightly. I think that it's a gift that, meaning no disrespect to any mother, but I have this gift. Many mothers have lost their children. Not many mothers have lost their children physically and been able to have their children still before them in so many ways. I actually can hear my son's laugh almost anytime I want to. Lots of mothers, don't have that gift. So I take it very specially. I understand that I have a gift that other people don't have, and I appreciate it. And I respect other mothers and fathers who don't have that, because death is a very funny thing. It's very sometimes easy for us to remember someone's eyes, or, you know, want to see my son, I can see him. I can see him walking. I can see him laughing. I can hear his laugh. I can hear his silliness. I could see the awkwardness, you know. I could see the imperfections of my son, rather than having to remember him as a mold from somewhere deep within my subconscious. Based on lies we live in, scandalous times, games like my religion. You could be rolling with the thugs. Cannot ever answer that question, because Tupac's music, look, it was so different. In any collection of his music, you have there are songs that I really need to hear if I'm involved in a legal battle. If I'm involved, you know what I mean? Yeah. They're fight songs. I need the fight song, you know what I mean? And then there are songs that are loving and tender, and I need those songs. And then there are songs that I know he wrote for my daughter. I need that song. And, you know, so my favorite Tupac song is really all of them. It's hard. I know it sounds, but it's true. Even Dear Mama. Dear Mama was written for me, yes, but like all things with Tupac, it was also written for other mothers. Dear Mama was written for a lot of mamas. It was written for Malcolm X's wife, Betty Shabazz. It was written for Coretta Scott King. It was written for a lot. It was written for mothers in that situation, or who, you know, it was written for mothers with sons, you know, struggling to do the best that they can. So I like them all. I think that Tupac was brilliant in his ability to speak to just about every strong emotion that we have. You got a better flow, let the liquor help you get a bonus. I'm still tipsy from last night, bumping the walls as a pose. My personal message for Tupac fans would be for them to live brightly, strongly, out loud, to sing, to write, to dance, to play, to create music, to create plays, to create poetry, to live, to act as though life is so precious that if you don't get this line down right now, you know, the world is going to end. I want his fans to live giving us everything that they have, because I sincerely believe that those young people and other people who want for freedom and justice in the world, that they will be able to give us that, but only if we encourage them to be wrong sometimes, if we encourage them to make mistakes sometimes. So I say live out loud. I say it because I want them to live, and I want them to make mistakes out loud, and to not apologize for their mistakes, but to look at them and say, how can I do it better the next time? Always knowing that there is another next time, you know. That's what I would like for them to do. Personally, I'm still trying to do small work. And small work for me is working to change the life of one person at a time. So I'm interested in making sure that the Tupac Amaru Shakur Center for the Arts always has its doors open, that we are always there to encourage a young person to express themselves creatively, that I can always be mindful of the older people in my life. You know, I go to church and I love the old women in my church. And so my mission is to learn more from them, how to endure and to do it with love and care. That's my personal mission.
And maybe you with fantasies of a sec, can I hit it? Addicted to the things you do, it's still true what I'm saying.
I absolutely did think of it then, and I think of it now. And I believe that when Tupac said that, he was completely right. I actually think he's still right, because I personally believe that we are not ready to have a Black president. And the way that we know that is by how many times people question that man's word on his religion or his state of origin. You know, that shows you that literally people are not ready to accept him as that. The best thing, however, is that God has given us one anyway. And so we get to prepare ourselves for what I believe, and my hope would be we can have other Black presidents, and also yellow ones and brown ones and red ones. And you know, I think that that it's good to look at it like that. But I think that basically Tupac's words were right about right, you know, and I think we could see it clearly during the election.
Every other man is all about, no matter where I go, I see the same.
Tupac would be sending a letter. Here's a song, Letter to the President. I think that Tupac would send that same letter to the president, because here's the thing about Tupac is that Tupac didn't really judge you on your color. That was cute, but integrity was very important to him, and keeping your word and doing things like that. So I believe that Tupac would have asked the same of President Barack Obama as he asked of President Clinton and President Bush before him. Yeah. And when we look at the fact that, which is one of the reasons why we still have our center, our young people are dying in more ways than I want to count. As long as that's happening, as long as young girls are not safe to walk the streets, as long as our communities are not safe havens for our families, then I think that Tupac would have been writing about these things, same thing. I think he would have been trying to get an audience with the president to give the president a piece of his mind. I certainly do. Tupac didn't mind that.
Every other man is all about, no matter where I go, I see the same.
Oh my goodness, I hope I can answer this question without boring the world. But Tupac was killed in 96. In 1997, we tried to remember him in a huge concert that we had way in the country in Georgia. And after the concert, we realized this was a waste of time. And we were wasting energy and money and didn't know if we were helping one person. So what we did is in 1997, we began to have summer camps, and we called it the Tupac Amaru Shakur Summer Camp for the Arts. And we did that for like, I think about 7 years. And I'll get the year wrong, but maybe about 7 years ago, 7 years ago, we purchased and opened, we purchased a building, we purchased 9 acres of land, and we opened the Tupac Amaru Shakur Center for the Arts so that our camp kids would have a home. And so in opening in the center, we diverted 6 of the 9 acres to a peace garden. And the other 3 acres is a center we hope with our this partnership, we hope to be able to enlarge our performing arts center. That's basically what we are hoping we're going to be able to do, which will give our children a larger performance place. Right now, what happens is we take our young people, any young person, especially who is brought to us by another person, we have them for 6 weeks in the summer, and they come from any environment, and we teach them music, theater, theater etiquette. At the end of the season, they perform a play that they have done using Tupac's material as inspiration, but their own words. And they perform it at a professional theater in downtown Atlanta. And it is always sold out. It's always full. It's always an incredible performance. And our community gets to see our children progress in a very short period of time. So what we have now from that process is we have a group of students who are our alumni, and they perform as a troupe. So they are like the professional Pox troupe. And then we have every summer, we continue to do that. The center is a community place that is accessible for everyone in our community. It's a place of peace. When bad things happen in our community, it's a place of nurturing and encouragement. And we just want to be around forever because we think we need to be.
I make a promise if you go with me. Just let me know I had to holler in my name out before I leave. Nobody loves me, I'm a thug nigga. I only hang out with the criminals and drug dealers. I love you.
First of all, the global is a good word. Let's just start there. My son really was a global person. You know, I try to stay in his frame of mind when I'm dealing with things that have to do with him. And I could just say to you that this would be something that Tupac would find just so fascinating, and he would be so excited about it, you know. So I have the same attitude about it. I'm very humbled that because you know, basically I live in North Carolina. I'm just, you see what I mean? So I'm really completely humbled by the fact that somebody all the way across the ocean in the middle of Europe, not on the edge,
in
the heart of Europe, you know, would want to bring us all together, you know, so that we really can do things together, you know, and do business together. Tupac would have loved it. All I could tell you is my son would love the concept of him working with you. So that's what makes it good for me, or working with Global. It would be just like the nth degree of happiness. No, I like the people. These are very nice human beings. For me, things are like that. Unfortunately, the other end of the business team, they have to talk to you about all the good business terms for everything. You know, I don't try to speak on things that I'm not that great at. I have to deal with things from my heart and on a basic level. And on a very basic level, you know, Tupac loved taking me and my sister. She's had one aunt. It's just me and my sister. He loved taking us and sending us to the casino. So, okay. So, and it's not like he was a great gambler, but did he love pretending to be to be so? And I just know that this is something that he would get the biggest kick out of, you know, that he had a poker game. Ah, it just be so cool. So that's for me. It's just about how I feel and what my instincts are about it. You know. I first of all thank all of you for inviting me here, and especially you, Vanita, that you would really thank you, because we needed the spirit and the energy, and the students here are incredibly warm, intelligently warm. There were no silly questions. You know, the conversations that I've had with, you know, at least 10 different students has been enriching for me. It's been a great experience. It renews my faith in the direction of young people in this country, because sometimes it's very depressing when we see the way that young people's minds are stitching and headed, you know, but I just got a lot of faith. I think the question about the sexism was an important question, and it wasn't because of sexism, but it was because, and notice that was, I think, for him also, because that was about other things, a lot of other things that, you know, kind of creeps around that issue.
I have worked in my 65 years, I've done a lot of anti-sexist work. But at the end of the day, at 65, I discovered that all of it ends up being the same. What I need to know is who I am. I need to know what I stand for. I don't want to be in a group because it's anti-sexist. I want to be in a group that is pro the establishment of humans and the thing. The problem for us is that we sometimes can be so anti what the problem is. I want us to be more pro on what the solution is. You know what I mean? I live. God gave me breath. I feel that no one has more right to breathe the air than me. And it's basic like that for me. I have a right to breathe here. I have a right to create here. I have a right to be heard and to be seen, if that's what I want to do, you know. So I think that it's important to have a lot of movements for things like that, but I think individually, it's important that each one of us understand who we are. What are we for?
We are, as a foundation, our foundation is the Tupac Amaru Shakur Center for the Arts, the Tupac Amaru Shakur Foundation. What we are going to do is we are going to commit to every year doing a homage trip to Central High School and bringing our young people who are the ages of the men and women who went to Central High. I think that I want them to see that young people their age changed the world with their courage and their clarity and their desire to get an education. When I am around students who are intelligent and thoughtful and challenging, I learned so much. And as a 65-year-old woman, I grow. I stay, my mind is challenged to keep working. I think it's like the best defense against Alzheimer's.
Peace, peace, peace. Peace and Black Power. Peace and Black Power family. Welcome to another episode of Do Knowledge Radio, place where knowledge is born. It's your host, Knowledge Born Alive. We're here to pay tribute and honor to our Queen Mother, Afeni Shakur, a symbol of the warriorhood, compassion, and love of the divine, feminine, the divine, matriarch, that divine mind of the African woman. For so long, the energy of the African mother goddess has been overshadowed, has been rejected, has been disrespected, has been positioned as second class. And we speak of mother, and next Sunday we have Mother's Day, and all of the ceremonies will take place. All of the moments of adoration, all of the moments of semblance that surrounds this divine matriarch. We celebrate mother for the mothers. We celebrate mothers for the grandmothers, the great-grandmothers, and all of those in the great line of divine of African womanhood. We take a moment. We buy lavish gifts. We prepare food, and the children, they prepare cards that they make from scratch. All of these things to give adoration and homage on command, at the behest of, in the support of. And then we go back the next day to business as usual. And the unworthy resort to the treacherous slander and disrespect of the African woman, as they do virtually on a daily. Those mothers whom you show no regard for. Yet on Mother's Day, you want regard shown for your mother, your woman, the mother of your children, that you browbeat on a consistent, that you disrespect and that you deny and that you misrepresent before the world. You want reverence paid. You want homage paid. So on this day, we honor the divine matriarch, the divine Queen Mother, the ancestral spirit of Mother, and what it entails, life in the physical realm, the pulling and the marriage between the unseen and the seen, the pulling and the marriage between the unseen and the seen, the manifester of the manifestation, the through line on how life comes into being in the physical realm, how life is cherished and nurtured and sustained in the gestation period of the womb. We see Mother. And in Mother, we have her. In Mother, we have her. In Mother, we have her. And also in Mother, we have he. In Mother, we have her and he. In Mother, you have her and he. So this is how these things come into being and manifest in the physical realm. Born in the culture means to bring into existence physically or mentally. So those thought forms that you give birth to in the womb of your mind that manifest into physical form, those life forms that come from the gestational womb and the adherence to divine order come into the physical realm in that manner. Mother is she. Mother brings forth he and her. Mother brings forth he and her into the physical realm. So when we look at Mother, when we look at Queen Mother, when we look at that divine matriarchal energy that envelopes and gives shape and form, body, characteristics, and traits in that gestation period of growth, in that fertile environment of abundance. Shout out to Queen Mother Abundance Child. That life in the womb. Tupac being born of that womb, being born of that womb at the most revolutionary height of her life, the fight for her life, and the fight for the Panther 21. Out of that was birth. Tupac Amaru Shakur. So in that essence of mother, birth, he and her. So just setting the stage. And I wanted to read some things to you, but before I do, we have to welcome Mother to the show. We have to welcome a divine warrior mother who is a sojourner, who is that definition of mother, and who can speak in the language of mother on a multitude of levels. A mothering force who has come forth to join us in this conversation in tribute and honor to Queen Mother Afeni Shakur. So let's welcome to the microphone Sads Shemai Israel today.
Shema Israel. Shalom. 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 How are
Dear
you?
Mama, how you doing? Dear Mama.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You were talking about Afeni. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. My mind is like all over the place right now. I still can't believe that. Well, I can't believe that. Uh, no, let me hold that. No, I'm gonna keep that to myself. I'm gonna hold that. Um, so what I will keep and continue to do as long as I can is to educate people. As you know, I feel like I am very educated on this black nationalist thing. Thing. It's a thing, right? That people say is dead. It's definitely not dead. It. I feel like when people start speaking on the subject, they should at least be educated about it, right? Yeah. So I'm going to.
No.
I don't know if I'm going to start straight away, but I just wanted to talk about. We talked about this before. The 10 points to the Black Panthers 10 points, right?
Well, let me read
In
this
there, it spoke about.
before you
Okay.
get into
Okay.
that. Let me read these
Okay.
quotes real quick, and then you can get
Gotcha.
busy. Okay. All right. I want to read these quotes from this sacred text in Yasasim, a calendar of revolutionary daily thoughts by a jingle living ancestor, Robert Dr. and Wally K. Romani Baruti. So I'm going to read these quotes. I won't get into the explanations, but I will read these quotes. And if we have time after Mother Sass is done, into these explanations, I believe. But I'm going to read these very quickly. And this is a quote. Well, let me read the quote. The eminent men who worked for the rehabilitation of Africa's intellectual personality deserve to be respected all more because they had to undertake unaided the task of fundamentally remolding their own store of knowledge, which bore all the marks of the colonial domination, bent as it was on deliberately refusing to acknowledge the intellectual and moral personality of African peoples. And that's a quote from Ahmad Sekou. Now, this next one. Let us dare to be so by ourselves and for ourselves. This is a quote from Jean-Jacques Dessalines. This is a quote for today, and since we're going into tomorrow, I'll read tomorrow's as well. So this quote for today, May the 3rd. Be mindful of those teachers insist on referring to themselves and their students as African Americans. They are generally not comfortable with being an African and will defend African American vehemently, claiming they are both. Ironically, you seldom see the African side of these individuals. And this is a quote from Yasansu on, since we're going into 12 o'clock, May the 4th. Historically, the European system has encouraged the killing of blacks since blacks have been left system simply follow the practice. And that is a quote from Dr. Bobby Eugene Wright. So these quotes, again, Dr. Bobby Wright, Dr. Ya, Santu Zinga, Baba Jean-Jacques Dessalines, and Ahmed Sekou. So I'm going to hand the floor over Our mother, Mama Sass, in the building. Have the floor. I'm gonna be quiet.
I don't need the whole entire floor. Um,
Yes, you
I was
got
hoping for a little dialogue, just a little bit, because you don't like to give me any dialogue when I do these. But
it.
I just wanted to we talked about this before. We talked about I didn't have any energy before this, but now I have all the energy. Because I feel like we need to be educated on the Constitution of the United States. I've said this before. Is that correct knowledge? I've said this, right?
You did.
Knowing if you're a citizen or not of this country. People who say we're not, understand the Constitution. People who say we are have no understanding of the Constitution of the United States of America. So we're going to talk about, before I start with Afeni Shakur, because we're like a day late, right? Because of some, I was tired.
Well, we right on time. I mean, today
Yesterday,
is a
yeah,
day that's reported
we're right on time.
as yesterday. So it's
Yeah.
some report
Okay.
yesterday and some report today. So you're good to go.
Okay. All right. So we have this 14th Amendment, right? It was passed by Congress June 13, 1866. Okay, it was ratified, which means that the amendment was amended in July 9th, 1868. Okay, it says here Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution was modified by Section 2 of the 14th Amendment. So we're going to read, I'm going to read Section 1. All right. It says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunity of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. All right, so that's Section 1. So I'm going to back up a little bit, and I'm going to go to Amendment 13, which was passed by Congress in January 31, 1865. And it was amended December 6, 1865. It says here, a portion of Article 4, Section 2 of the Constitution was changed by the 13th Amendment. So this means that when you see these notes in the amendments in the Constitution anywhere, you have to go back and look at the original thing. You have to do that in order to understand the amendment of the amendment. So Section 1 of Amendment 13 says, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. So it says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for crime. So if you go to jail, let's say, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. So you've gone to jail, you've been convicted of a felony. Because at the felony level, you basically you lose all your rights. All the rights that was passed in the what was that? The goodness. Let me go back because I have so much information in my head and it just gets so contribute. The Emancipation Proclamation, right? I'm talking about the one in 1965, right? Was to give certain civil rights to Black people. That was supposed to be what's that word, knowledge? It's supposed to be oh my God, I guess enacted in certain situations where it wouldn't ordinarily be. So these are rights that Black people now have, like voting and things of that nature, right? It says shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. That's what it says. But then in the 14th Amendment, we read that It says here, I'm going to read it again. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, and property without due process of the law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the law. So we know that laws have come into play since then, which takes the prisoner, the convicted felon, takes all their rights away. This was done. This is a violation of the Constitution. So anybody who's talking about the 14th Amendment was one of those amendments where it did something really good for Black people. If it's not being enforced, how is it any good, right? So, and we know that voting is rigged. I don't like going by statistics saying that most Black people don't vote, but what I see is a lot of Black people running to vote, hoping for a change that never ever comes, right? So it's like you keep participating in something and you're not getting any results in, whether you put your own people in those positions or not. It comes a time where we have to back up and say, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. It's not benefiting us. I'm not going to support you if you don't support me. Because ultimately, when you're voting, it means that you're supporting the establishment. They need your support. If you pull back your support, they will see that. They see everything. They will see that. Why are these people? And we saw it in the movie, the spook who sat by the door, right? Knowledge, right? So it started out with the white guy in his office, and he's talking to the white lady, and he's saying, I need to get that Black vote. And he asked the Black lady sitting in his office, how come we're not getting the Black vote? We need that 1% to vote in order to keep me in office. It's a fact. We are needed in order to push their agenda. What about us pushing our agenda? So what it does is that we have laws and legislation that has been put into place since the 14th. I mean, since not even the 14th, since Lyndon B. Johnson, because that's who ultimately pushed that through for Martin Luther King Jr. or whatever. But it means nothing if it has been done away with. If new laws come and are trumped up against Black people to take away certain rights, you know that as a felon, you can't do certain things. I know that you can't, for instance, get a federal Pell Grant if you wanted to go to their colleges. You would have to come up with that money on your own. So that's one of those an example of things. You're denied federal help, but you're contributing to the economy of the United States of America, which makes no sense. So these ex-prisoners, these convicts who are now out of prison, they work within the system, but are not compensated or given benefits like anyone else because they were convicted felon. And we know that a lot of our people have gone to prison wrongfully, and Afeni Shakur was one of them. We're going to talk about. Let me get there because I was doing something before this. I got to get my screens right. So it's called Panther 21. She was a part of the Panther 21, and she beat it. She was not a lawyer. She was just a regular Black woman like me, who did not have any formal training, was able to get herself and other members of the Black Panther Party out of prison, non-convicted of what happened. So this is April 1969. It says 21 members of the Black Panther Party in New York City were charged with conspiracy to kill several police officers and to destroy a number of buildings. After 2 years in courts, all of the defendants were acquitted. So that was due to Afeni Shakur. So that is Tupac's mother. Everybody knows Tupac. Everybody should know Afeni Shakur. If you don't know who Afeni Shakur is, I don't know where you've been, under a rock. Tupac has made it clear who his mother was. He told you who his mother was. If you listen to his music, you would know who his mother was. So now let's start it off. Before he spoke to me today, when I came on, he said, "Dear Mama," right? So that is a song about his mother. You know, in that book, let me get to it. The book is called, wait, I have my notes. The book is called Afeni Shakur, Evolutions of a Revolutionary, by Jasmine Guy. And what she said in that in you know, in her discourse with Jasmine was that um I can't get upset with my son. He spoke his truth, you know. In that Dear Mama song. How can I get upset with him for, I was not the perfect mother. This is what she said. So if you can come out and admit your wrongs, this is what you do, especially with your children. I mean, I don't know a better mother that is. She went on to speak about how she dealt with her own grandmother and mother. It wasn't, in the best light. So I want to get into that, but I want to start about, the formal who Afeni Shakur was. I'm going to read from the internet, the Freedom Archives. It says here, no, I don't want to start there. Nope, I don't want to start there either. I have so many windows up for this. It's not funny. I hate it when I. All right, let me do this. All right, so I'm gonna go back to. I'm gonna go to Freedom Archives. Okay, so Afeni Shakur, known to most of us as rap icon Tupac Shakur's mother, passed away 2nd of May 2016. In his 1995 song Dear Mama, Tupac speaks about the deep appreciation for his mother and the difficulties she faced with drugs and poverty when raising him. But what many people are often not aware of, which they should be, is that Afeni Shakur was a revolutionary thinker and activist who shaped the political discourse of Black liberation movements in the 1970s. She joined the Black Panther Party in 1968 and was a crucial member of the NYC chapter. In April 1969, she was accused of conspiring with other Black Panther Party members to carry out bombings in New York. Afeni Shakur defended herself in the so-called Panther 21 trial, earning an acquittal on all charges after serving a total of 11 months in jail. In remembrance of Afeni Shakur, because we do remember our vets, we do, and our ancestors and the people who came before us who laid down a legacy, because that's what they do. This is something that we don't say is dead, because revolution is never dead. In remembrance of Afeni Shakur's legacy as a revolutionary mother and activist, she speaks passionately about why she joined the Black Panthers, lessons to draw from the Panther 21 trial, and what it means to be a political prisoner, because we spoke about several political prisoners thus far, like I guess within the past 3 months, as well as to how to foster racial solidarity within and outside of the prison system. It says here, the person who wrote, listening to Afeni Shakur does not only provide insights into the political climate of the early 1970s in the Panther 21 trial, but also evokes memory and inspiration of a recently departed ancestor. So from what I read, Afeni Shakur was not only these things, she was able to go into combat, like physical combat, and fight, shoot guns, all kinds of things. Well-rounded person. She had her mind right. She had her body right. Everything was right with her. Okay. She even talks about the downfall of the Black Panther Party and why it failed. She said that they dropped the ball. She's talking about the Black Panthers. We dropped the ball. Basically what she was saying was that we didn't, this enemy we're up against, we slept on them, basically. You know, we didn't anticipate these things happening, which she didn't get really into too deep from what I read in the book. Maybe she did. I didn't have time to really go into it like that. But basically, she didn't put the blame on anyone else. She put it on the organization and what the organization could have done better. And that's one of the highlights I want to talk about. Number two highlight, she started that what was that lunch program? I think it was the lunch program. I got to go to the book for that. I believe it's a lunch program. She started that. She took credit for that. She said, I started that thing. It was mine. I put it together, whatever. So when we're talking about lunch programs and food programs and things like that, this came out of the mind of Afeni Shakur, which the U.S. federal government stole. They stole the idea, you know, and not that they stole the idea, it's that they took it away. You know, it's a good thing. It's a very good thing for the Black community, right? So what they did was they took it out of the hands of the Black people, took it upon their hands to make themselves look better in the eyes of Black people. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm seeing this today, like literally today. You know, whenever I need food, I can just go to the government. They will protect me. But if, you know, I stop receiving food from them, I'll be nothing. I'll starve to death. And we all know that that's not true. It is not true at all, because according to Afeni Shakur, she was able her to do it for her own community, to put together a program that filled a void. So it is possible. Reverting back to what once was is not a bad thing. So that was another highlight for that. She talks about changing her name. We can get into that a little bit later. She talks about, you know, she talks about a whole plethora of topics and things, but I'll just talk about how she got into the movement. So I'm gonna go to the book because I just want to you know, read a little bit. Oh, before I move on to that, I do want to read the letter from jail. Her letter from jail. It was printed in the Black Panther newsletter. Was it a newspaper? In 1969. Yeah, it had to be a newspaper because it says page 24. And it came out in San Francisco, California. She wrote a letter from jail. It says, I am writing this note in hopes that it will inspire at least one of those Panthers to get out into the community and do the work for the people. During my incarceration, I have found that there is a great need for the sisters and brothers to know the true meaning of power to the people. Very few of our young brothers and sisters have ever read the 10-point program. Within the 10-point program, I'm gonna stop here. The 10-point program, it talks about the 14th Amendment, and it talks about natural laws and about the Black Panthers wanting to be autonomous, wanting to have their own way within the United States government, wanting those parties, their enemies, everyone else to stay out of their business. They wanted to police their own neighborhoods. They wanted to feed their own people. They even homeschooled their own children out of the public system. They wanted separation. It's clear, separation, and it was working for a long time. And I talked about this in another stream. So it is possible to make these things happen, as it did happen. They even had their own publications, as the ones I'm reading from. They had even the arts, everything like how a society should be. But we have the outside antagonists in here trying to break this thing up. Why? Because Black people are needed to be slaves. That's just the bottom line behind it. So, that's neither here nor there. So she says, they are unfamiliar with the party's purpose. We are looked upon as an all-Black gang dedicated to destruction. When the brothers in Oakland sat down and put the 10 points together, that is not what they had in mind. We must educate the community to the correct purpose of the Black Panther Party. The party is dedicated to seeing that the needs of the people are met. We will do whatever the people deem necessary to attain these basic needs. We will go to jail. We will be murdered. We will be prosecuted. And most of all, we will live for the people. We are responsible always to the people. Every action must be understood by the masses. I no longer have any wants, for my desires are my people's. I have no time because my time belongs to the people. You see, everything belongs to the people. If you find it hard to put into practice, then you have no place in the vanguard. Everyone is not expected to be able to carry the load, for it is without a doubt a heavy load. But then the rewards are great. The load must be carried whether you do it or not. You must review the 3 choices you have. I love my people, and because of this love, the 70 years that I'm facing seems a small price to pay. Land, bread, education, housing, clothing, justice, and peace, these are my goals. Solidarity in the struggle. Afeni Shakur. Now, anybody speaking differently about Black Panther Party are liars. Okay? Straight liars. And I'll just put it out that way. It is obvious that you don't have any, I guess, maybe it's not your fault. Maybe you just weren't educated, in this thing. I know it's not easy reading United States history and law, but we as Black people, we need to pay attention in school because they're telling us about us. I mean, it's about themselves and what they did to us. It's very relevant. Okay, it's very relevant. If I must say, study U.S. history, Western philosophy, and U.S. political science and foreign policy. Okay, to get up on what is what. Because it matters to your life and it matters to your children. Okay, so that was Afeni Shakur. She wrote that straight out of jail because she wasn't convicted or anything like that. So I'm going to move to where am I going? Okay, so I'm going to go to this publication. It was written by Jasmine Hughes for the New York Times. Okay, so I'm just going to read what they have here. This is other information about Afeni Shakur. So it says Shakur owned a 56-acre farm in her hometown of Lumberton, North Carolina, and that's where she lived. That's where she was born and where she lived before she came to New York, where she grew produce that she donated to the city school system. On the second day of the first circle of Mother's Retreat, Afeni Shakur approached the stage to speak to an assembled crowd. In this, I felt like in this particular speech in 2014, I think she sounded defeated from what I'm reading out of here. I don't know if it's, I didn't know if it was true or not, but that's why I picked up the speech for myself. Okay, so I went and I found another speech. This one, she was talking about something about the women's workers. She's speaking at an event for women's workers. I just don't get that. She was sound so defeated. I didn't feel like in the book that she had with Jasmine Guy was a person sounding defeated. I know that she has some struggles in her life, and a lot of us have to deal with that. I know that they say a lot of veterans suffer from PTSD, as I'm sure she has. There's many ways that you could cope. Some people turn to drugs. Some people turn to alcohol. Some people just, hurt other people because they have become hurt people. But we know that Tupac explained, and she explained that she had like drug issues and things of that nature. So that's neither here nor there. So we understand where that came from. But I want to read this as she's talking to this particular group of women. It says here, as a working woman and a revolutionary activist. So she's currently still a revolutionary activist, like she's never stopped. So, in the struggle for self-determination for Black people, I am honored to have been invited to speak with you at this commemoration of International Working Women's Day. In preparing for this moment, I was overcome by the memory of a quiet storm of a woman who erupted a mighty hurricane in this country 25 years ago. I guess the thing that strikes me the most is the fact that this slightly elderly Black woman had worked all her life as a laborer and was this day returning from work, feet aching, tired, weary, and basically fed up with saying yes to injustice. I can't help but feel great surges of emotion when I consider the results of that one moment in the Black working woman's mind. That minute when 4 centuries of fatigue and humiliation fused with the quiet determination of the symbol of resistance in the person of Miss Rosa Parks. When Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat that day, she sounded a cadence for the Black resistance movement in this country. When Miss Parks disrupted the bus service in Montgomery, Alabama, the percentage of Blacks in prisons across the country was less than half that of the Caucasian population. Since that day in 1954, the percentage ratio has drastically changed. In places like New York, for instance, where Blacks represent from 13 to 20% of the total population, they now represent 75 to 80% of the prison population. We are not a nation of people who are innately criminal. Oh no, we are instead a people who love justice. Now, I'm gonna stop right there because people are not aware of what justice is. I say do your research and find out what justice is. And because we love this thing, they've hauled us off into the prison system. Anytime that when there's any rebellion to injustice, they throw you in the prison system. They lock you up. This is what they do. This is a fact. Okay, with prejudice. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. So much so that in the pursuit of that justice, we have been defined as criminals or people with criminal intent and carted off to jail, or in some cases, shot down like prowling wolves. This is why Ambassador Andrew Young feels compelled to cite America as a nation with hundreds, maybe thousands of political prisoners. I agree with Mr. Young. I agree because I'm familiar with the case of Joanne Chesimard. Though anybody know who Joanne Chesimard is should know. Afeni Shakur, that's her name. Who she fled to Cuba with the help of the Cuban government. Where they gave her asylum, and that's where she is right now, along with other Black revolutionaries who fled the United States of America and have protection under a foreign government. Isn't this wonderful? Like how before, this is like unheard of, right? This is so unheard of. Black people can't go anywhere and get protection from any other land. Oh, no. Well, apparently so. Okay. So it says here, with the case of Joanne Chesimard, a Black woman who has gone through 6 trials in the state of New York and 1 in New Jersey. After 7 trials in 6 years, Ms. Chesimard has not been found guilty of 1 violent act, although she was charged with heinous crimes, including kidnap and murders. Now, Afeni Shakur calls kidnapping and murder heinous, right? Yeah, so just keep that in mind because it is heinous. It is something that goes against what we believe in as a people. It just does. This thing does not matter to our enemies. Kidnapping, this is what they do. And murder, that is what they do. We don't do it. And we're taught that these acts are heinous. Okay? So I don't see how this is their way and not our way. People got it twisted. I'm going to continue. The state of New Jersey, which claims credit for her only conviction, does not charge that she herself killed anyone. They admit that she herself was shot while her arms were raised in the air. She nevertheless serves a life plus 35-year sentence in Clinton Prison in the state of New Jersey. Joanne Chesimard, like thousands of other Blacks in the 60s and 70s, was an activist involved in a national struggle against United States human rights violations. Now, I'm going to go back here. She said in the 60s and the 70s. So I would like to know where that emancipation that was signed by Johnson went, because that was back in 65, yeah. So we're talking about the injustices still happening to our people in the 60s and the 70s and up until today, right? Both were in abroad. That's what she's saying. She is a political prisoner and should be either immediately released or recognized by this country as a political legitimate prisoner and treated according to international laws governing political prisoners. Now, foreign policy covers international laws, and this is why I said you need to get you need to understand what your rights are according to the laws of the lands, all lands, right? So that will remove the fear of taking up for yourself and your people. But because we have no knowledge of these things, it's fear. It's just us going by our day-to-day lives and just letting it go and teaching our children to do it. It takes away, it takes away that fear. It takes away from the what ifs, the Q&As, whatever, because you understand what your laws are governing, your autonomous self, because you are a person. Now, see, the difference between United States law and international law. So there's international law, okay, that supersedes the United States laws. So keep that in mind. So, and in North Carolina, a few years ago, another Black woman struck a blow at the violations of internationally recognized human rights. This time from a county jail cell, all of us across America, were struck by the strength of a slight young woman who refused to be raped by her jailer. We were all struck by that great feeling of outrage that caused Joanne Little to strike out and kill the would-be invader of her body. And each of us who is a woman wish that we could have struck the death blow to Clarence Allgood. We still owe it to our own integrity to fight for Joanne Little's release. So Joanne Little killed that fool. I guess that corrections officer in the jail, or whatever doctor that was in the prison system, because that's a whole nother subject that we need to talk about. Black women in the prison system and how they're violated and how they're raped and all kinds of things that are happening to them on the inside. Okay, but nobody ever talks about them. Black women go into the prison system and nobody cares. We touched on this a little bit in college when we're talking about political prisoners. The focus was on the Black man, because that's the ultimate threat, to the enemy, to the white man, right? So this is what they're trying to put in your head, that these people are the bad ones, the evil ones. So they just leave the Black women. But with a little more research, you can find information about Black women who are political prisoners as well. And those who are not political prisoners, those women who have criminal convictions and they are being mistreated. Okay. Not all the punishments deserve the same, don't deserve the same judgment. So that's a whole nother story. But it says here, because we need to salvage the mirage of human rights that Joanne Little sought to protest, we need to sound an uncompromising cry for victory over those who seek to invade our bodies. Finally, we would like to salute the millions of working women in this country who are forced by this government onto welfare rolls because they are mothers. Women who cannot afford to pay child care costs because they are so prohibitive that they can can only be afforded by families that are middle income. These women struggle daily against odds, which are stifling, and yet they can be found in each community in this country organizing small welfare rights groups or tenants' rights groups or Black associations or police brutality watch groups. These women are tireless workers whose thirst for a better life is quenched only when they themselves are involved in the fight to make a better world. And because every day of my life I work with these women, I know that they are the lifeblood of our mightily resistant struggle. Because I am one of these women, I feel the agony of their pain and the frustration of their quest to be an integral part of the army, which ultimately will be victorious over human rights violations here and abroad. May I end by quoting the words of a South African prisoner when asked why he testified in defense of another prisoner when he knew it would mean further punishment for himself. Andy Soyiki, he replied, "I am no longer afraid." And she said, "Thank you, Afeni Shakur." So now she went to this women's workers gathering to speak, and then all of this came out. I'm sure it had like nothing to do with what they were talking about. But she came with this thing, which I think is brilliant. And it shows you, you know, I mean, this speech was everything. It was everything. This is basically all you need. When you know your rights as a human being and you understand that the whole planet, I don't like saying planet, the whole earth is yours, then you have no fear. You have no fear of anybody. You understand that you do not have to participate in a system that says you have to participate. I mean, Black people are, constantly being fingers pointed at them by people who look like them, who are saying you're in your situation because you're in because of this and because of that, and you don't want better for yourself and blah blah blah. And I went to school and I did this, and it is so dumb as hell. I went to school. I did this. I did. So I could tell you whatever because I know better than you. They don't know. They have no knowledge of self either. They have no knowledge of self. Your own natural rights. You have natural rights, and it is recognized. It is. It's just that you have to know about them. Number one. Number two. Then you have to act on them. You have to know your worth, Black people. If you don't know your worth and you only know a paycheck, I don't know what to tell you. So I think that's all I have for Afeni Shakur. um, for now, I mean, we can go back and forth knowledge on this or whatever you want to talk about, but I think this is it. This is the epitome of Afeni Shakur. Okay, mother, teacher, all these things. She's a part. I'm a part of the Amoraim. Okay, speaking about this sister here. So I'm gonna end it there. Okay, I don't know where knowledge went, but I gave him a second to come back, but he's not here. So, um, let's see. Let me go here. I'm gonna number 3. I gotta. Okay. All right. I see. Panthers. Control F. Panthers. I'm sorry. I wasn't prepared to go on and on and on. If anyone's listening, I can't see. Um, Let me. Okay. Panthers. Panthers. Okay, I'm gonna start at. No, I'm gonna start here. Okay. Okay. Let me try something else. All right. So Afeni Shakur says, "Sweetness, let me tell you something. All the shit I was doing to people against humanity, robbing people, beating people, that wasn't shit. Before I joined the party, I was effed up. I would slap an MF in a minute. I cussed my mama out, disrespected her, left her crying on the kitchen floor. Would you be proud of that? I left home and lived with any brother off the street that would pay my way. That's where I was. I'd cut somebody just for the hell of it and never looked back. I told you I like to fight. I told you I had a mouth." Um, and that's Afeni Shakur talking to Jasmine Guy in that Evolution of a Revolutionary book, explaining her childhood, basically. Um, it says here, she says here, so the Panther Party for me at that time clarified my situation. She says, "They took my rage and channeled it against them. Instead of us, they educated my mind and gave me direction. With that direction came hope. And I love them for giving me that, because I never had hope in my life. I never dreamed of a better place or hope for a better world for my mama and my sister and me. I just never did. They took me and looked at me and said, 'Afeni, you are strong. You are strong, so use your strength to help the weak. You are smart, so use your mind to teach the ignorant.' And that's what I did. Saku, my section leader in the Bronx. Lumumba, the section leader of Harlem. Kathleen Cleaver, Eldridge's wife, and the only visible female force of the party. They were brilliant to me. I wanted what they had." So that is what the Black Panther Party did for her. So I'm going to go to something else. Let's go. Okay. She goes on to say, "Well, let's go back to when I joined the party. That was when I felt most empowered. I believed in them." They asked her what she believed in. She said the principles, the plan. "I started the breakfast program, not the lunch program I said earlier, it was breakfast program to feed children on their way to school. I joined because I could use my mouth for speeches to raise money for the program. I joined because I was fearless. I was a gangster, and I could do whatever was necessary to keep the party alive. I joined for free clinics. I joined for all that because it would have helped my mama if we had had that kind of help from our community. Those programs would have helped my mother with her two girls tremendously. And those programs would have helped my mother in a way that would have saved her dignity. I joined because the Panthers answered the needs of the people in my community. I believed I believed in those programs, and I still believe in participating in your community, especially in the schools. I believe in restoring your community from the external structures of that community to the actual families. I believe it is the responsibility of every individual in a community to take back our schools, take back our minds, take back our bodies, and nurture our children. That is our job then and now. That's where I am. So this is Afeni as a grown woman, grown up, um, and her. Let me see. Let me make it clear. 2004. There we go. Um, so she's a grown woman. She's up there in her age. You know, she's lived. She's been a Black Panther. She's done all these things, and she still speaks this way. Still admires the Black Panther Party. So I'm gonna go to when she talks about that book called Shogun. I just thought that was interesting. Um, yeah. Okay. So she says that book for me teaches. The book was called Shogun. And she said that the book for me teaches the purest form of martial arts and how it relates to women. Duty and honor, accepting your duty and finding your honor in doing it. Like my grandmother, I remember my Nana again. She cared for my grandfather for 10 years, cleaned his bedding, lifted his paralyzed leg and arm, shaved him, fed him, wiped the drool up from the corners of his mouth for 10 years. My Nana was only my Nana was only 4'10", a little thing, but strong, and she was adamant about caring for my grandfather. Of course, that's all the great, wonderful people that we want to grow up to be. They accept their duty and find honor in doing it. And you felt duty bound to the Panthers, they asked her. I felt duty bound to my people, my community, the mothers and children of my community that were my mother and me and Glow. It was a great fight. The war against oppression, the revolution, whatever you want to call it. And the soldiers were young, hopeful, angry, aggressive, intelligent, and vibrant. This is what the lady is saying to her. And we're also passionate and fearless. And she goes in to say that it was a war that we lost. So she considered that movement, that Black Panther movement, as a war that they lost. It says the COINTELPRO, CIA, J. Edgar Hoover, for God's sake. What about the spies? What about the double agents? What about the bogus charges, the constant court hearings and incarceration? What about the letter Huey? The war, Afeni shakes her head, which we lost. What do you mean you lost it? And she said, you were sabotaged, you were infiltrated, spied on. They said, don't help your people, fight amongst yourselves. The Black Panthers imploded. She says, we dropped the ball. So this person who is interjecting, trying to give her excuses as to why it fell, she said simply, we dropped the ball. She was trying to tell her, the reporter was trying to tell her they infiltrated and sabotaged and all these things. And she said, baby, I know all this. Afeni interjects, I know the mess. That's what she said. She says, Jasmine, what I'm saying now, what I know now to be true is this. We dropped the ball. Personally, if I, just speaking for myself, had to keep focused on what we were supposed to be doing. There was a period in the development of the party when in answer to the unjust attack, we reacted emotionally. She goes, that's right, we lost it, we dropped the ball, we didn't know what we were dealing with, we were in over our heads, and worst of all, we were not listening to the old people. We had removed any semblance of spirituality from our movement. So when the danger came, what did we have? Interesting. Ultimately, we are each each responsibility in a time of stress and trauma to hold that ground. Each person must be able to hold the ground on which they are standing. If the ground is not solid, you can't stand on it. Not having a spiritual base, not acknowledging the greatness of God, not saying we can't do this without God, we had no solid ground. Instead, we turned against God. And how you're going to win like that? You have to have a moral imperative to win. A moral imperative to win. For example, that's the thing that Israel has lost, which ultimately, if they don't get that back, they cannot win. You can't do that in this world and expect that God is going to allow peace, harmony, and serenity to stay around you. We didn't understand that. We drew violence to ourselves. We drew bitterness to ourselves. That's my opinion. And she ends it at that. So she says she knows the mess. It's like a inside thing, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Now I'm really done. I'm really done now. So let me go back to the stream. Knowledge, are you back? Oh, oh, you just reappear that quick. I can't hear you for some reason. What are you doing? Oh, now I can hear. You're doing too much right now. You're doing way too much. All right, I'm done. I had to go a little bit more,
You done,
and
Sunshine?
because
You done, Sunshine?
yep, I'm done, sunshine. Yep.
Reflecting on
I'm done with
those
the
words
conversation.
and everything that you read, you, mother, Mama says, how much of Afeni Shakur and Asada, because I heard you speak about Asada, do you see in yourself and do you see in your lineage? Like she made reference to Rosa Parks, she made reference to a lot of instances of what the party helped bring out of her and direct her energies in the right direction.
Yep.
You know, but submitting to not the party itself in a space of superstardom, but in a space of principles and plan and implementation of the plan
That's
and how
right.
she weaved herself into the party with her own goal. She didn't come into the party as a groupie. You
That's
see what I'm
right.
saying? And she
Yep.
made reference to a warrior sister, Kathleen. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And she made reference to a
Yep.
warrior brother, Sekou. You understand what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? All of these
South Africa.
reputables, right, of being around.
Mm-hmm.
You see, I read a quote earlier from Ahmed Sekou Touré, where we would get the name, which was an ode to Kwame Nkrumah and Sekou Touré, in Kwame Touré, who was known to the world as Stokely Carmichael. Him and my
Mm-hmm.
elder, him and my warrior elder, my Baba Mukasa Ricks, coined the term Black Power. So I live in that essence and the presence of Kwame Touré's top general, Baba Mukasa Ricks. In that vein, and Mama Maimuna, his warrior queen. That's a fierce warrior and a lover of our people, a lover of our youth, a lover of our ancestors, a lover of our elders, and a lover of our contemporaries. So, in that spirit of my own mother, At the beginning, I was playing the audio, and she said, "Dear Mama" was an ode to her, but it was an ode to Dr. Betty Shabazz, Coretta Scott King, and so many other mothers. You see what I'm saying? Who were affected.
Mm-hmm.
This is their man-child speaking to them. Before my mother transitioned, I had the opportunity, the honor, and the privilege of introducing her at an event I put on with her in mind from the beginning. And for her to speak there. And for the world to see her in that likeness, in that light. Finally, after all of these years, and I sat with her in the place with dignitaries, and the dignitaries felt small in her presence. And to hear Tupac speak about his mother, and to hear his mother speak about him. So many conversations, you know, and situations that come along in that process of mothering, in that process of sonning, being someone's child. You see what I'm saying? You don't always see
Yep.
eye to eye in that
Mm-hmm.
purpose. However,
Amen.
it's an it's an understanding of a growth hurts like healing does. Growth
That's
hurts
right.
like healing does. You see what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
You get an
Mm-hmm.
affliction and your healing, it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts like heaven. Okay? Don't hurt like hell. Nothing hurts like hell. It hurts like heaven though. Because something new is making its way into the space in the place where something once was. And there's a covering that is there during that healing process. And when it's really healed, the scab doesn't need a help. It simply falls away. Or if you pick at it, it's no longer fleshly attached to the body. It simply falls off. But the scar is there. So these things are
Nicely
honorable.
said.
When you look at mother, mother has to heal from the scars of bringing life out of her womb into the physical world. And some of these scars never heal. There are things that are associated with giving birth, coming out of that gestation period, that incubation period into life. There are parts of you that may be injured, may be bruised, may be scarred, and never, ever, ever to work functionally, optimally as they were again. And to go through all of the painstaking labor to bring about life. And then for you in that life to be in conflict with one another. It's damaging to the psyche and the soul of both that is involved. The heart sent to the mind, sent to the spiritual space and place that exists. Out of 7 children, I was the one in the middle with the greatest birth complication and miracle story. Everybody just had a regular birth. So mother had to deal with my birth for the first 5 years of my life. Mother had to deal with my birth and the situations that surrounded it and all of the events that took place after. I spent the first year of my life on the planet in the hospital, in Beth Israel Hospital, the old one, the one that burned, in an incubator. And my mother had to leave me there and come back, leave me there and come back, leave me there and come back with my other brothers and sisters every day. The first year of my life in the hospital. And mother, as I stated earlier, creates He and her. They're both in the name, mother. He and her are in the name. So she had to toil through not only the pure pain and bloodshed of delivery, labor and delivery, but relinquishing her natural maternal instinct to the hospital. And me being in the NICU for the first year of my life in the incubator. And the things that would take place that I'm not going to get into now, but I will at some point. This is mother and child. This is mother and child. This is Madonna and child. And this is the strength of mother as reinforced and reanimated in her creation of child. So this is mother of the revolution, and her child is revolutionary. If he marches to the beat or she marches to the beat of the drum, they are revolutionary. Their birth, their existence, they did not die. Back to that analogy of the seed and the weed. My mother said, I did not allow the external forces, the weed, the doctors, the experimentation, and all of that in the hospital to kill me. Yet they sought to, and they ought to. Her strength to continue to fight is my strength to continue to fight. So with Tupac, with the hate you gave, little infants, I was the little infant as we were, and as our children are, and as their children will be. We are the little infant, the hate you gave little infants. I did not have to read a book to know who my goddamn enemy was. It was in the hospital with me from my birth. And had my mother not been my mother, had she not had the divine wisdom of God, if she didn't have God's sense, I wouldn't be here talking to you. None of my brothers and sisters would be, because they had told her that at 15 that she wouldn't have any children, that she couldn't have any children, and that having a child would kill her. It's 7 of us. So when I look at Divine Mother, and I look at the dutiful space of my mother and the dutiful space of my grandmother, who had 15 children, we look at that and we see mother. The twin thing about this exception that we bring together that we call family, in mother and father, you get he and her. Look at the divine wisdom in that. Look at the ordained appointment of the marrying of both principles. And then you have the party. And then you have the goals, the aims, and the objectives, and who is their duty and responsibility to. The people, but the programs reflected, not only was it for the people, it was specifically tailored toward the youth. George Jackson said unifying about realistic day-to-day needs. So look at their tenets: food, clothing, shelter. land-bred housing, shelter fit for the occupation of human beings. These are unifying, rallying principles. These are rally cries where she said she could use her voice to raise money for the party. So she said she could use one of her gifts. She didn't use this gift for aggrandizement or for self-gratification, but it was a recycling of what the people gave to her for her to be able to implement and institute programs that would help the people help themselves. So in this essence, you see mother and you see father with he and her, with the communion of the union. And this is where life comes from. With a dutiful commitment to protect and preserve African life and protect and preserve our oldest and most sacred institution, the African family. All together. All together. African family. But we got this African American talk. So Mama Sass was talking about what it means to be an American, and you do not fucking qualify. You don't qualify. You're not a citizen, nor naturalized. There was no ceremony to swear you in, to speak plain English, to speak plain language for the ones who can't hear me in the back. Maybe they can hear me now. You don't come from generations of people who were naturalized. We were people who were kidnapped from a place where we were, for whom that applies, because some of you say that that doesn't apply to you. When were you naturalized? Where was your ceremony? When did your foreparents go to Ellis Island? When were you wrote into the Constitution? When was it amended to reflect you as a person, not property? So all of these things come into play when you speak about life and existence. And when we speak about Afeni Shakur. And when we speak about the American response to the inhabitants that was stolen from another place and brought here and used as property, seeking for a semblance of equality. Equal and equality ain't the same fucking thing. For a semblance of equality. Looking to take on the nationality of our captors and to call ourselves American. You don't need a Voting Rights Act for people who are citizens. You don't need equal opportunity laws for people who are citizens. If you're a citizen, you just go vote. You register and you go vote. If you're a citizen, you don't have to have a conversation about equal pay. You don't have to have a conversation about you have to have so many of my kind. That sounds like a separate nation to me. Sounds like a separate nation. But these are the things that you want to hold on to so dearly that you fight your brother and your sister for. You fight your mother for. Something that you could never be. Not naturalized. This isn't your place of origin. And for those who are, it ain't yours now. Someone stole it and killed your ancestors for it. and came and got my ancestors and brought them here. So your story is your own. That shit gets split when everybody looking for a motherfucking check. That shit gets split up real quick when everybody looking for a check. Instead of checking the motherfuckers who are responsible. Mama Afeni was nice with it. You hear her words. You hear words. These was real. This was real situations. And she came up around real people. And she came from a real home and a real family that was really afflicted. And her herself was afflicted in the biological and chemical warfare that was raged on our people. You don't do that to citizens. That's too much of that shit. So you was about to answer the question, and then I just went all the way to where the Jetsons stay at. Out there.
The Jetsons, that was my joint, man. Oh, I love the Jetsons, man. I loved it. Looking back on it, it's so basic, but you know,
right.
that was my show. I'm kind of infuriated at the moment, but I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. Oh my gosh, like I don't like when people ish on our people, especially these people showed you that it can be done. This is what I don't understand about some of us that say, oh, we can't separate from this. They rule everything. They blah, blah, blah. Man, where's your connection with the universe, right? Like, where is it? And that's what Afeni Shakur said. She said, because we lost sight of God. We lost, and this is not to be spooky. This is not what it is. What it means is your power. That's what it's talking about. The connection to your power, staying focused, staying obedient to your people and to what's going on around you, the focus, the goal. You know, I mean, man, what this goes back to the Matrix. Don't they put in that from what Knowledge told me was the virus that was Neo into the Matrix to disrupt, just cause all kinds of confusion and just oh my God, this is what they do. And we lose sight of what's important. It's our power. It's a divine, like Knowledge was just talking about. There's nothing spooky about it. Our spirituality, what connects us all together, the connection of the people of our people inside the prison and outside the people, our people over in Africa. You know, the connection was there. We connected even the ancestors that were already long gone, all connected. You know, one goal. You know, oh my goodness, like it's not hard. It's not hard. You know your rights. You know, people, you know, I like how they say, like, what was that in Western philosophy? Know thyself. Oh, they stole it from the ancient Africans, blah, 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 whatever. Know your enemy. Okay? Learn their language. Read their history. You know, read their current laws, documents, statutes, all this nonsense that they have. They have so much stuff to try to confuse you. Learn this stuff. And you don't have anything to worry about. The separation was already shown. Because you have an antagonist on the outside that infiltrates doesn't mean it can't be done. You have to know how to combat that infiltrator, that antagonist, that thing, that thorn in your side. You need to know how to deal with that. And I know in the scriptures we know how to deal with that. But, and our people were dealing with that. Kidnapping and murdering. That's what they do. And to get justice for that, you know what it is. So that's all I have to say about that. I'm good. I felt like, um, you know, with these new kids coming up, something gonna happen. It's just right now we don't have a way to filter their energy, like how you said Afeni's was filtered. Take that negative energy and bring it into something positive. We're just not at that point at this moment. I feel like I will see it in my lifetime. I really do. I really do. And yeah. So that's my answer. And yes, absolutely connect with my ancestors. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it. I had a bomb ass interview earlier with Razzcast.
I saw
That was
that.
good for my soul. It was good for my soul.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay.
That was very good. I mean, he's very in tune.
Okay. I mean, he finally found the place where everybody knows your name. You understand?
Yeah. That's a good thing. You want to come back where people are, they dealing with you. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the connection. You see, like you can't fake it. Either you
Yeah,
got it or you don't. You seen
that's
some folks
right.
on here
That's,
who didn't have it. They didn't have it.
thank you. Thank you. Yep.
And
We can go into that later. Yeah. That's a whole nother topic that we need to get
yeah,
on. You know.
there's some that have it and some that don't. And
Yep.
those that have it, they love it here. This is a wonderful experience. You see what I'm saying? Like it's a wonderful experience. Those who have it right here in their heart of hearts and in their mind of minds, in their essence, it's here.
Right.
It flows. It's like boom, 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 boom. You see what I'm saying?
That's
You
right.
would think I was talking to somebody I known for 20 years, but lyrically I known him for 20 years.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? Like so to
Mhm.
come back to
Mhm.
that commonplace in regards to one of my favorite verses of all time. We find ourselves right here, like boom. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like bow. Okay, the
Mhm.
whole conversation to go back to this, da 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 da, and I'm like,
Uh-huh. Mhm. Yep.
why
Absolutely.
did you go here?
Look, you know your
Why
people.
did you
You
go
know your
here?
people. That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So that, like going back, like you don't get that with somebody who went to journalism school. Investigative
Mhm.
journalism. They have a particular skill set, and I love it. They have it. They got it. They
Yeah.
they go to dig and push and probe and prod and poke and probe and prod. You don't do that with a motherfucker you love unless you're trying to get some extrapolation out. You understand? There is a clause in there. When you find error and you're looking to correct it, that's when you go that way. Not for somebody you love. For somebody you love, you want them to think about their experience and the way you looked at it.
Mhm.
When I heard that shit, I was here. Where was you at? Damn.
Yep.
Damn. You see what I'm saying? Like I took him back to
Yep.
Parsippany. I was on the 70 motherfucking 73. I was on
That's
the
a long
73
bus
coming
ride.
back,
Mhm.
long ass motherfucking bus ride.
Ah,
I took him back to
damn.
Parsippany, not in the seat. I'm holding on the rail of the 73
Mm,
bus going back home.
mm.
listening to some fake mixtape shit I done put together, Don Cartagena and shit. You see what I'm saying? Like Don Cartagena, Exhibit Joint, 40 Day, 40 Night. Yeah. Flip Mo Fly, Run for Cover. You see what I'm saying? Like all that shit all mixed together. That Bummy Jack joint, used to the Magnum Force joint from Helter Skelter. I ain't having that. You understand what I'm saying?
Like, I forgot about that.
Hell yeah. All together. You know what I'm saying? All that shit. Pun, you ain't a killer. You see what I'm saying? CNN War Report, Channel 10 Blood Sport. If you got really spit, if it really spit. You know what I'm saying? That shit, and then switch into banned from TV. Shut the fuck up. I'm trying to watch this movie. Shut the you understand what I'm saying? Like all that shit together, all on this motherfucking bus standing up. And then some old shit, the shiznit on there for no reason. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and pump up. Like, I'm going crazy on the bus, and cats is looking at my three button Walkman, hoping that the batteries don't run out on the way on the bus ride.
Yep.
Yeah.
Favorite Snoop song.
Hop it, stop it, hopping like a rabbit. When I hit the end of Ross, you know I got to have it. In the cut, change myself. Like that shit. Like, come on. So I'm like, so just imagine if I'm where you are. Across from me is Snoop. Across from me is Exhibit. Across from me is Corrupt Daz. Across from me is Fredro. Across from me is Sticky Fingers. You understand what I'm saying? You're not sitting there with no motherfucker like, well, what would you say your writing style is? And you know, none of that shit. Like, nigga, I rocked the ball head for 20 years because of you.
Because of you.
20 years, 20 motherfucking the perverted motherfuckers is at it again. That shit, like, I'm yes. Me and Jack, the Black Vagina Finder, like, yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like, yo, come on. I'm going, I'm going, you know what I'm saying? I'm going for that shit.
Who had the best verse in that song?
And which one?
Me and Jack. The Black Vagina Finder. Who had the best? We probably won't agree. But you know.
I'm on my Fredro shit for that one.
Oh, okay. All right.
You said Sticky, huh? Sticky had
no, absolutely no. It had to be Suave. It had to be
who?
Suave, the dark skinned one.
Oh, Sun C's?
Yep, him.
Sun C's was nuts, yo. Sun C's was like Sun C's was misunderstood.
On that one, he did a good job on that one.
Yeah, they didn't.
No, he did a very good job.
They didn't give him he didn't get the spotlight until the second album. All we got is us.
He fit right in with them. I mean, I felt like it was a cohesiveness with the three of them. Not so much to Big DX, but with them, those three, there was a cohesiveness. I enjoyed him on the first album. I did.
So DX, we got the bell. We're gonna get you out of jail, man. Fuck that. Like, see what I'm saying? Like when you sitting with people where you wasn't really in the intricacies, in the spaces in between the lyrics, there, it don't mean nothing to you. You just like you on there with a motherfucker. Like Snoop got away with leaving Death Row, going down south, getting real money for the first time in his life, and then going back to the West Coast and doing major shit. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like Snoop, like you hear that motherfucker on The Game Is to Be Told, Not to Be The Game Is to Be Sold, Not to Be Told. Welcome to my world, nigga. Where's VIP? I'm like, oh shit, this shit is crazy. You see what I'm saying? Like, so I'm like, he did that shit with a budget. He did that shit with motherfuckers who put money behind him, and he did his motherfucking thing. You know? In the midst of all of that shit is cocaine, because cocaine got money everywhere. He was the only motherfucker that got money with Ruthless, and Death Row. You know what I'm saying? Like, he did that shit. So, and continuing to still do and produce to this day, like all kinds of shit. You know what I'm saying? And create content, all kinds of shit to this day. So it's a different kind of shit. And he the nephew of Willie Hutch. You know what I'm saying? The nephew of Willie Hutch, and look at Willie Hutch. You see what I'm saying? So the shit just makes sense when you start hearing little shit. You see what I'm saying? So his brother, you know what I mean? It's just like crazy. His cousins, like the family, like all that's together in regards to a relatable experience. All that shit come back to the West because we talking about Afeni. You see what I'm saying? But then you got East Coast and then you got Northeast in there too. And what that relationship was like. And then to be in a place like North Carolina where you would get Bumpy Johnson, you would get Frank Lucas, you would get all of those cats. But more importantly, you would get Robert F. Williams and Mabel Williams. You see what I'm saying? So that spirit's there. It's right there. You know what I mean? So pushing that all together from a global situation, because what our ancestors did locally had global implications. African leaders saw what our ancestors did here, and it motivated them and sparked them to fight against their colonialists and rid themselves and to have independence. So all of these conversations come back full circle, you know my thoughts on Eldridge, but he was able to articulate a way of understanding for Eldridge as I had initial understanding for him. You see what I'm saying? So it's a different kind of situation. So him to weave it all together, for us to have this conversation, I have to ask him about Afeni Shakur.
Right.
I have to ask him about Tupac. I have to ask him about nobody but him. And in the midst of him talking about him, all these other things came to the forefront. And then just listening. Active listening. And then him seeing how far he could go. And based off my responses, he was like, fuck it. You understand what I'm saying? Fuck it. These other people not going to get that. They're not going to get that. And if they get that, they're going to edit it out. That's what they're going to do. They're going to edit it out. They're going to re-release it. They're going to sanitize it. So it would look like this motherfucker wasn't even here. And what he was here talking about wasn't nothing that he was talking about. It's a clear line of demarcation as to where he is and where the enemies are and what he's looking for, but what he's not prepared to do to get. That's a rarity. That's a rarity over there. You know what I mean? So,
yep.
I love it all together. You know what I'm saying? I was about to get my little cigar like Hannibal and say, I love it when the plan comes together.
I love it when a plan comes together. Yep.
Yeah. The Hannibal went from a conqueror and a destroyer of European power to a cracker with a stogie to a cannibal.
I know that's right. Yep.
All before our eyes. And that's
Perversion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A fag too.
Hello, Clarice. All creepy as hell. He should have been put to death.
Jeffrey Dahmer out here.
Put to death.
Jeffrey Dahmer all the way.
Yeah, put them to death. People who do that, just put them to death, please. You're on eating people. No, you gotta go. It's no court, no trial, nothing. You gotta go.
Robert Harris said, "Make me the motherfucker who hit the switch."
Yep.
Zah!
That's right.
He said, "You stole death. Zah! Everything death. Zah! Zah! Zah!" Oh, he said, "I ain't gonna steal no more. I know you ain't gonna steal no more." He said, "I'll be piling motherfuckers on top. Zah! Zah! Zah!" Oh man, one of the greatest to ever pick up the microphone and tell it like it's GIES. I love it. So, yeah. This was amazing. The information was the truth. And we honor you for your sacrifices, Mother, that we could never imagine or fathom. And the Queen Mothers out there, that divine African woman, we're not going to keep failing you. We're not going to keep failing you. We're not going to keep allowing your name to be disrespected and dishonored. We're not going to, in our European mind formation, continue to mistreat and disrespect your mind, your brilliance, your creativity, your power, and your capability to make a way out of no way. We're going to bring it to those who are responsible, whether they look like us or they don't. For them is a day of reckoning. And the painful chastisement and the recompense awaits them. All of them. Until you restored, nothing or no one will be restored amongst us. So, that's my little 2 seconds. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my oranges. Okay. This is my West Orange and my East Orange. My West Orange and my East Orange. Okay. I don't got no orange for South Orange. Unless it's South Orange Ave. That's from the posses. I was soaked. So this is my West Orange and my East Orange. Is you finished or is you done? Mama says.
Finish. I'm done. I'm just
Shema Yisrael.
You know, some people just don't need to exist. Like I'm feeling like that tonight, like for real.
That's right.
But you know, it's all right. It's okay. Everybody get
you heard what I said earlier.
In due time.
You know, if Rascats come out with a bar around that, either you
that's
Blade,
right.
either you familiars,
yes,
familiars of Blade.
Familiars. Absolutely.
That shit, yeah, that's him. That's
right.
his shit. That's his shit. Like Martin said, "You so crazy." That's your shit.
He said he forgot about that. Yeah. He said he forgot about that because for real, that's a thing. That familiar thing. Let me tell you, they can't exist. I'm telling you. Drop the ball, Afeni shit. I said we dropped the ball. Enough said. She said I was there. That's all I need to. So she ain't letting no insider information out. Get back to the crack, please. We know we did. We know what was up.
He turned the page upside down on y'all ass. Boom.
Yep. That's right.
304s and 310 on Section 8 with multiple 187s. God damn it. I got two of my favorite verses out.
We all gonna be back on the same playing field again, the level playing. We all gonna be back on
Nobody
the
wants to
same
be on a
playing
level
field one
playing
day.
field with us.
I hope I'm
Nobody,
there.
nobody wants to be
I
on a
hope
level.
I'm there.
There's nobody on the planet that wants to be on a level playing field with us, and they
Nope,
shouldn't
they
want to
don't. But
be.
it's
They need to have an edge. There's no competition if you don't have an edge. You see what I'm saying? In the words of Kwame Ture, you will simply get offed. There won't be too much. You just be people
off.
simply getting offed. You understand what I'm saying? So
Say the wrong thing and you're off.
Off with your head.
Off with your head. Say something. Say something else, nigga,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, we don't have too much of that.
Something else.
Too much, yeah. That's it. This shit is over.
Yep.
Say
and I ain't playing.
another motherfucking word. And this shit is over.
That's right.
I ain't playing.
Yep. Ain't playing, mother. Oh my God. For real. We're going pinky on you fools. Right.
And then he was apologizing for the whole rest of the time. And all that.
He had to check him. You know what I'm saying? He had to check him first.
And you look, without just been get up in your
run up in your store.
Yeah.
Don't let nobody just run up into your establishment.
Don't say a word. Now who sent you?
I don't know you. Who sent you? And the same color, right? Who sent you? We need to know.
Right.
That's right. He could have been a familiar, right?
Right. Could have been a familiar. Had that barcode and shit. Vampire bitch.
Mm-hmm. Yup. Could have been a familiar.
Hit his ass with that garlic.
I know the code.
Mm-hmm. Hit him with that garlic.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That is so funny. But we serious. We serious out here. Serious.
Yeah. And these are the experiences as though, that you have with your fam. You see what I'm saying? You can't tell me.
Yep.
Me and Phantom on the Beat, aka Haas G, ain't go back 20 years. Or me and Billy Dance ain't go back 20 years. You understand what I'm saying? Like, when you know the through line, it's a different kind of situation. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Me and Auntie Yo-Yo ain't go back. You understand? Like,
yeah.
So that's that whole little part. Like,
right.
It's inception. You know what I'm saying?
I went crazy when I read what she said about
Intelligent Black Women's Coalition.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Afeni pulled Israel out her mouth. I was going crazy when I first read that. I was like, yes. Yeah. All right. Because she understands. She understands those words. People get all swooped out and they're talking about this.
The lines were not blurred. There was no real, like when you struggle and suffer together, you don't forget.
Right. She's talking about the spirit, right? Yes.
Right. And the whole shit about having an understanding of how propaganda works.
Right.
She had to push it. You see what I'm saying? So like her relationship, she was in a relationship where she was a second wife.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to talk. Yeah, she said
this
it wasn't until she got to prison she understood. She started reading the Quran. Yeah,
but this is what I'm saying in regards to reformation. There's a point in there where certain places give you a certain kind of awareness and understanding, a certain kind of orientation.
That's right.
This is why when you come somewhere, they have newcomers orientation. They orient you in the experience. And in this conscious sector, there used to be, there's no longer a newcomer's orientation.
That's what I was saying. They
don't orient your mind in there. Right.
Right. It's not being
they don't do a needs assessment.
It's coming back
anymore. They don't do a needs assessment anymore. They don't say, okay, so what are your interests? What are your goals? So they can direct your path into a curriculum that is best suited for you. so you can contribute as an individual to the collective success of African people. They ain't got no reference section over here no more. Everybody thinks they're the reference section. And the reference section is the smallest section in the library, but it's the key to the library. It's the Dewey Decimal System of the motherfucking library that you made. That's why it's small. And this is why you can't take no books out of the reference section, out of the library, unless you stole it.
Right.
Because this point of reference ain't just for you. This point of reference is for everybody who come in, all of the seekers who come into the community. This is what the point of reference was. This is why I love Black Dot, because Black Dot didn't say he wanted to be the source. He wanted to be a point of reference. That was the Black Dot. That was the pie, the point within the circle to direct your path. It's a love type of situation. They say, oh, y'all be romanticizing about Black power. Y'all be romanticizing about Africa. Ain't you in love?
Oh, no.
To be romantic, in order for you to be romantic, don't you got to be in love? You can't be in like and be romantic. You got to be in love. You see what I'm saying? So this is what happens. This is romance. You see what I'm saying? But it take work, because what? Faith without works is dead though. You see what I'm saying?
Everything takes work.
What homegirl said? No romance without finance. You understand?
Finance.
So
Right.
when the Phoenix was talking about the attraction,
You and me. Yeah.
the attraction to the party and the lessons learned, it was the principles and the plan. That's romance. No romance without finance. You see what I'm saying? No money, no honey. You understand? Like that. That shit goes together. That shit goes together. That's a marriage.
Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I want to hear about that marriage part. Go ahead.
Ladies first in my Queen Latifah voice. All
I was gonna say is about that romanticizing thing. Nobody's romanticizing anything. I don't know why people say that. Like, I mean, the hate for Africa is real. That's all I gotta say. I have nothing against the content.
It's the act of doing, right?
Come from.
Doesn't that suffix denote the act of doing? Ing.
Right.
Like even with doing, the ing denotes that it's active, that you're in the process of. You see what I'm saying? So the ing, romanticizing, I love it. Hey, give me that shit. Okay, that's the act of romance. I love it.
Yeah,
it's
but what
active.
they're saying is coming from a negative space.
They try to play. They can play with it. I love it. Like, look. Who's more negative? The person that's telling you not to think affectionately about your people, or the person who is head over heels?
Right. What is their intent?
With the connection, with the people? Love of your people, the love of your people's aspirations and goals towards freedom. So they're like, oh, because they're talking about what the European is talking about. There's a deficit there. All of our enemies, their expression of love is through ownership. This is why they say possession is not of the law. All of our enemies, every last one of those bastards, and as they should be, because they don't have no connection to us other than what they own, operate, and control.
Right. Millions upon millions of souls. Yes.
Right. And what they can get us to buy into and consume. You see that?
Right.
So when you're talking about romanticizing, You never looked at yourself in a spot or a place that's worthy to be desired or sought after, fought for, killed for, or die in the process of protecting. You don't see yourself in that way. So you can use a word like romanticizing and look to seek and find a way to spin it in negative because you don't love yourself. Because if you loved yourself, you would fight and kill and give your life in a way that would change the condition of the people who are coming after you. You don't love you. So if you don't love you, what do? You hate you. That's natural. It's natural. So when you look at you, if you don't look at you enough to love you, to go fight, to organize, to set forth provision, to be in a position of
That's your
protection.
human right. Yeah. I don't like using that word human right, but that thing, but it's your God-given right. Yeah. To go
So
to
you
war. Absolutely.
spiritual,
That is,
yeah,
oh my goodness. The right to, that's what
love it.
Second Amendment, good Lord.
That's a prescription. That's a prescription in the realm of spirit. See, like this whole situation, when they start talking about, the spread of this or the spread of that, it was spread by the sword, this was spread by the sword, blah, blah, blah.
To
There's a
instill
revelation
more
that
fear.
comes to you when you start talking about a people who did not fight, a people who was grossly outnumbered, a people who was subjected to torture. When they start to rebel, they're going to switch it. They're going to change the narrative.
Right.
They're going to tell you that Nat
Mm-hmm.
Turner was crazy. You
Yep.
understand? They're going to tell you that
Yep. And
Idi
that he's a
Amin was
criminal. Right.
crazy
Mm-hmm.
for kicking
Right.
Israelis out of his country, for kicking the
Right.
Indians out of his country, for kicking the Asians out of his motherfucking country, and giving the wealth back into the hands of the people. The people will tell you, not the outsiders. The people will be like,
Mm-hmm.
he was a crazy guy. Do you know how many conversations I had with people and I snatched up by their collar neck and whispered in their ear, don't ever say that shit out loud again. Don't ever say that shit out loud again. I
Say
said, you got
something
children?
else.
I said,
That's
you got
right.
children? They're like, yes. I said, if you ever tell that to your children and I hear about it, I'm going to come over there and I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Your children are free. Your land belongs to you. You in control of your politics because of this crazy man that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Get the fuck out of here. So, like that kind of situation, because they have to paint you crazy. They have to paint you like you out of your mind. You got to be out of your mind to love your people. You see that? You got to be. You got to be crazy. You got to be
What do you,
crazy
what
to
do you mean?
motherfucker.
That's called self-preservation. It's
You
called
right. For
self-preservation.
everybody
Oh
else,
my
but
goodness.
for us, you're crazy.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
extreme.
yeah. And we're racist and we're always extreme. Right, right. Even oh my God, we got our people saying that nonsense, sounding like that.
Yeah,
Never mind, forget it, forget it.
yeah. Hey,
They don't know
you
how it's
know,
supposed to be. They don't
but they
know how
never
it's
been.
supposed to
They
be.
right. That's right. They never been in a position to love
Everybody
them.
else know.
They never been in a position to
Right.
love
Everybody else know.
them. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So
Just ignorant because everybody understands this. Everybody else understands this.
yeah, I said, am I mad at you? Yeah, but I'm more mad at your handlers, at the motherfuckers who sent you.
Ah,
I'm disappointed with you. Who sent you
uh,
that? Give me their address. Because they sent you. They're like, huh? All right, put them in the trunk. Okay. We'll find out later. You see what I'm saying? So that's what it is. That's how it is. You could ask this. I studied girl while you was in prison.
George Jackson said that they put these other charges on you so that you can stay in prison, that you could be a criminal. They put that criminal on you because they can't label you as a political prisoner anymore. So they have to, connect you with other people who are doing bad things, or just put it on you to make you seem like you're a criminal, so that you no longer have your rights to speak out against injustice. This is what they do, and you supporting a system. I at full magnitude, you supporting the system. Yeah, we must be a part of this system. We have to work with the system as doing this to you and your people. You don't understand this. I don't know what they don't understand. So when people speak like that, I know that they're scared. They're scared. They're scared.
Scared.
Scared. That's all. They're scared. They're scared to die, scared to whatever. You know, they ain't never been nowhere. I can tell you ain't never been nowhere. You need to leave this country to see.
Right.
And then maybe you'll turn around or something because you over here unexposed, you know, quote unquote protected over here. You know, let's see. And Rona is doing a good job. Rona got them, you know, you can't just leave your country no more and come and go to another country now. You got to stay where you at, you know, and deal with your government directly. I think that's a good thing.
So we out of here. Okay. We are
Yeah,
out
we
of here.
out of here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
East
That's right,
Orange,
sunshine.
West Orange, sunshine right here. East Orange, West Orange, sunshine. Okay.
That's right.
21. Is it? 21 and the 5. The 5 and the 21. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. I never got on the 5 before, but that 21 I hate.
The 24, the 25.
21, 24. I took the 5966.
Damn.
I didn't. My bus didn't stop on Broad and Market. It didn't stop there. We were bougie. We we stopped a block after and a block before.
Mm.
Bougie. Elizabeth Ave. Yeah. We ain't stay on Broad and Market. Nope. That was those millions of people. No, thank you.
Fancy.
It's real fancy downtown now. Real fancy. Got a Whole Foods and
Brantford and Halsey. None of that shit.
Oh.
All that shit is bushwalk.
It's like literally one store on that block. Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. Now only but Arabs got a store. The Muslims have a store. That's it. That same store. That one. Now it's just one. Like nothing else on that street.
Mm.
The Chinese halal spot gone.
Damn.
Ain't nothing better than a Chinese halal spot. Let me tell you. Okay. If you want to eat some Chinese food, you might want to go to the halal spot.
What about the one?
You said Main Street, East Orange?
Yeah. Near the check cashing place.
I haven't been to EO in a minute. I have not been to EO in a minute. I try to stay away. That's a whole different hood right there. I don't have no dealings anymore with that. Yeah. Yeah.
4th Avenue used to have one. Well, we out of here.
I have no dealings over there. I need to probably go over there. Yeah. I need to probably go over there.
Ow. Rising power. Time mama. Afeni Shakur.
Shalom.